In today's video, I'm gonna be going over how to make a fire beat from scratch. I'm gonna be showing you guys creative ways to make your melodies stand out using effects, and then just going over, loading up your drums and also applying effects on your 808 to make it just stand out more, and just making a couple variations to make the arrangement a lot better. So let's just jump right into it. Starting off, you can see my tempo set to 140. And if you have a set tempo that you always like to make your beats around and just want to open up a project and then go straight to it, you can actually set default tempos just by going to menu and then by going to preferences. Now when you add preferences, go down to project defaults, and right where it says default tempo, that's where you will put in the tempo of your choice. So now let's pick out a sound. I'm gonna go to my plugin, and then I'm gonna actually click on favorites and pick the dark dirty strings. With favorites, you can save your favorite presets from the plugins that you like. So all you have to do is just go to the plugin, pick the preset that you like, and then go to favorites. And then you can just hold down on a available slot, just like this, and then it will pop up right there. And if you also hold down again, you're able to delete it or override it. So I'm just gonna delete it by pressing clear. And let's just get to it. And now I'm gonna go to shift and 16 levels. If you're not familiar with Pad Perform, I have a whole in-depth tutorial going over it, and I'll have a link in the description so you can make sure to check that out. So for those that aren't familiar with it, it's just a layout of your keys as if you had a keyboard in front of you, but it's just going to be on your pads. So when you go to notes, it's showing you the scale of A major right here. So all the notes of A major, and anything in red are the octaves. I want to do C minor, so you can change the octaves just by hitting the plus sign or the minus sign, and you can also do it from the banks up here as well. So it's whatever shortcut feels fast for you. Now let's lay out a melody. And as you can see, I have full level off, so it has more dynamic. And what I like to do is edit the ends so that they all stay on the grid. A faster way is to get to the fourth Q link, go to the second knob, just make some room with this Q link, use the pencil tool, and then put a note right here, put it on TC. And then you want to change from start to legato. Now what that does is bring the notes closer, but since we have like small notes right here, that's why it did cut off right there, but it's still even. So all I have to do is just go to edit end. If it was in another instance where there wasn't a note right there, all the notes will go to the end of the bar. And the reason why you want to put this note right here is because legato means for a note to be held until the next note plays. And if there's no note there, the feature is not going to be able to tell where it should land, and it would think that it should just stop right there. So we could just select that and then just press shift and cut. And then we could just use the second knob to bring it back to 4 bars. Since I have this note right here, I want to actually leave a little space so that it could just hit a bit harder. Come over here and then edit the end, bring it right here. So just have that little pause. Now, a quick way to get to your mixer is hit the eye icon, and then you can just click in, go to an available slot, and I'm gonna put a half speed on it. So you just go to modulation and then go to half speed, and it will sound something like this. But the thing about using half speed, it does sound a bit muddy. So I would like to just go up an octave, go to your track, and then go to transpose and go up 12 semitones, because 12 semitones from the note that you're on makes it an octave. Versus. So this is just a quicker way, and it will only affect this track. So it's not going to affect anything else in the project. Then we can open this back up, and I can apply another effect. And another effect that I like to use in the EQ filter section is filter gate, man. Don't sleep on the filter gate. But even though it has a lot of cool presets, I recommend that you guys still go through and just tweak with the knobs. And I found one called halftime for the pattern section. So it sounds something like this. But I'm just gonna bring down the mix to about 50%. Anytime you see like an orange rectangle box around any of these features, that's where your Q links are set. So I can hit Q link and then we'll go to this. and then the ones next over. So if you're not using Q links in your workflow, I have a whole video on that. And trust me, Q links to speed up your workflow a lot faster. And I'm gonna change the LFO to probably a 3-step, and then change the envelope, you know, at like 20%, and it sounds something like this. Versus. And then you can name your tracks by going to this A right here. And I'm just gonna name this strings. Now, I could just go over to the next track and then start a whole new program. But let's say you are in a plugin that you already like, and depending on your default plugin setting, it might go to a whole nother plugin and it just kind of slows down the workflow. So enable to keep the workflow going, you could hit this pencil tool and go to duplicate the track. And what that does is go to the next track and then makes a duplicate of the program. So anything that was on program 1, like these effects, is now on track 2. So you can see the effects still apply right there. And in this case, that's something that I would like to do because I want to actually copy over the MIDI. Go to track 1 and go to the pencil tool.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special announcement.
If you've been liking all these tips and tricks so far, I have many more tips in my new ebook that I just dropped called Sauce It Up. It is a collection of my YouTube shorts, but in the ebook, I name everything to where it's more convenient for you to find what you're looking for right away. You just click on it and then you can just read it, or you can click on the link to send you straight to the video. Now, this is also just a great way if you want to help support the channel. If you've been finding value with my videos, I definitely would appreciate it. So make sure you check out that ebook. Links will be in the description. I also have the limited edition version where you get a free 30-minute call with me and we could talk about any MPC questions you have. And that is going to be limited, of course. So I'm only going to be accepting a few people. And you also get a free update to when I compile the next YouTube shorts that I find and come up with. Now let's just get back into it.
Can we get a drum roll, please?
Go to copy track, and it's always going to go to the next unused track, but since we're trying to get it on track 2, we just got to go back to track 2, and we could just name this track 2 as well. Now when you go over to track 2, the MIDI is already there. So then for track 2, I'm going to use the Q link, and you see how it's on the first Q link right here. Instead of like going all the way to the 4th Q link like this, you could just do shift and hit Q link, and it would just move backwards. So every millisecond counts, man. Then I'll use the second knob again just to make some space, and I'm gonna use this nudge tool and just nudge it over like a beat, and then I'm just gonna bring it back to 4 bars and change out the sound, and it will sound something like this. Let's try a different sound. So that's dope. I'm gonna actually add an Air Flavor Pro on that. And getting to Air Flavor Pro might be like, you know, a bit hard to find. So a fast way is just to put it on manufacturer, take it off a type, and go to music technology, and Air Flavor Pro will be right there. Now a preset that I like to use is actually in the retro keys, and it's called Transistor 2 and Transistor 1. Yeah, that sounds fire. Now for the third track, I don't have to duplicate it because I'm gonna actually use a different plugin. We get this press plugin program. I'm gonna go to favorites and use the Melancholy Octaves, which is in the Fabric XL. And you would think once you click it, that will go back to the main screen, but it doesn't. So just make sure you hit main and it will be there, and you will have your pianos. So let's just add in another melody. I'm actually gonna move this note over, just like this one, move it right there. Now this is actually a perfect example of legato, because now that there's no other notes at the bottom, I could just, you know, use the pencil tool, put a note at the end, just make sure it's at the beginning of the bar. And then now I can do TC, legato, and you can see that all the notes are sustained. And then we could just do shift and cut, just to take that note out, bring back to 4 bars, and now we have this. I think I want to put a Air Flavor Pro on that. So I want to put that retro keys. I'm gonna do Transistor 1. And then I could just duplicate this track. This time I want to use a sound that's going to help progress the melody, and usually pads or lead does that. So let's go to a lead. I like lead soft, and I like the vocal dust. So I should actually, put that as one of my favorites because I like how that sounds. And we could just put another melody. I'm just going to turn it down. Now, what I like to do next to just spice up everything is just actually resample all these melodies. Now, if you're new to the MPC and resample, it just means to re-record them and have it as a waveform. You will do that by going to menu and then looper, changing the input to resample, and you can just use your data wheel. You don't have to click in, but you can if you want to. Make sure it's on sync. Make sure it's on play, because if it's on overdub, it's going to overwrite it. And then you just press record, and then you just do overdub and play start. So then you could export it, rename it. I'm gonna just say fire loop. We could just press edit. What I like to do is just mess with the tune and just go up probably like 2. It will sound something like this. But if you want more variation with your arrangement, I think the best thing to do is actually go and resample each individual track. And you can just easily do that by muting the other ones. So just like how I mute strings, and then go to menu, make sure it's on resample, do record, and then overdub, play start. Just do the rest for the other ones. So now I went ahead and now I got all the individual ones. And now I'm gonna actually go to a second sequence, because you don't want to mess up that sequence if later on you want to go back to that. So going to a separate sequence is just going to make your workflow a lot better, even though you still want to continue off the track that is unused. You don't want to go back and use the first track, because then you're going to overwrite it and mess up the other sequence. Just don't do that. Just go to the 5th track and use the drum program, since it's now a sample. And then we could load that sample in by doing shift sample edit with the new pitch. And this is different from actually just using the project I had before and pitching it up to semitones, because this is actually changing the tempo as well. The tempo is not going to be 140. We're just going to have to tap that out and find the tempo. So I'm going to actually just put this on any pad. I'm just going to put it on pad 5 and press do it. I just assigned it. Now we just got to find the new tempo. So I'm going to play it, and then you see where it shows tap. You just tap along with it. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you're a beginner, this may be a bit challenging, but just keep doing it several times until you get the rhythm of that melody, and then see where the numbers that is lying between. So it's lying between 155 to 160. Let's see how 158 sounds. And then now all the other ones will be lined up as well. Now we could just work on our drums. I'm gonna just go to a different track. Let's just add in some drums. Click folder 1 to get to my unison kit. So anytime you have a kit that you like and you don't want to spend time going through it and finding it, a quick way is just to use one of these folders up here. So if you haven't used any, they will be empty. And all you have to do is go to the folder that you like. You just hold down shift and you click the corresponding folder that you want, and then you'll have it. So I already have a few of them set, and it just allows me to get to my stuff a lot faster. So now I have my drums. With the hi-hats, you could just put it on shift and then use your note repeat like that. But I like to just kind of play it so that I have control over the dynamics. And now we could just add in the kicks and the clap. And I'm gonna turn on my full level, because for the kicks and the clap, I don't want too much dynamic between them. It's sounding a bit empty right here, so then I could use the hi-hat roll, and I could just shift note repeat and just put like a 16 note rhythm. And then we could just go to track 7 and get our 808s and go to key groups. I could go to shift menu and go to my 808s. I like 808 alternate. And let's load that in. And the thing I like about the Unison kit is that everything is already in C. So if I wanted to switch out an 808, you know, they all in the same notes. But let's say you had an 808 and it was in the key of D. What you're gonna have to do is go to Shift Sample Edit and go to the second page and change the root note to D so that when you use pad perform, it syncs up. Go to menu, pad 14, put it on one shot, you know, put it on mono. And then now when I go to Shift 16 levels, I'm already in key. But I did go up 2 semitones on that sample. I have to go up 2 notes, which brings me to D minor. Now the track is in D minor. So yeah, let's just mess around with it. Turn down the 808s a bit. And then I like to add the MPC 60 vintage effect on the 808s. It just gives it more of that low end rumble. So here's with it off. You just hear it just gave the 808 a bit more body, and we could just turn this down a bit. So pretty much that is like the beat right there. Now I can show you a bit of variations, and let's actually go to all these individual ones and put it up 2 semitones to keep everything in key. I'm gonna keep the same order, so I'm gonna put my strings on pad 9. I could just hit overdub and play start and just hit all the notes. And now all the notes are hit. Then I could just mute each individual ones. So now I could just mess around and just have the piano and the lead go. And there you have it. That's how you make a beat from scratch. For the next video, I'll show you the arrangement, and after that, I'll show you the mixing for it as well. Peace.